Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. The title of today's show is Crypto Will Chop Forever. Are you having fun, Anon? Well, ain't that the truth, guys? It's been 5.5 months now, roughly, of pretty garbage price action across the board, right? Like you in a on a very high time frame perspective, you're moving sideways on a lot of L1s. A lot of beta plays have basically bled and have sort of entered sort of a reaccumulation. Obviously, a lot of altcoins are just toasted, but I'd say more like the legitimate projects, more legitimate beta plays, looking more like reaccumulations, but big drawdowns. While Bitcoin is just in this massive, massive range within a range, within a range, within a range. It is rangeception for Bitcoin. ETH definitely looks like it has a little bit more work to do on the high time frames. Structure looks all right. Middle time frames, not so great. Locally, who even knows, right? But we've been in phases like this before, where crypto has basically had this prolonged period of chop and range. And it's a really annoying feature of crypto that actually most of the time is spent doing literally nothing, chopping, algos basically trading back and forth, chopping each other up, people becoming completely disinterested and repulsed by the lack of anything constructive within the space, price action wise, and then also like sentiment wise and grifting wise, right? Um, but we've even in recent years we've had price action kind of comparable to, in my opinion, what we're going through right now. Um, and let's maybe highlight a few of them, right? Like it's Friday, pretty disappointing price action across the board, right? So it's like there's really only so much we can do, but we're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk about markets. We're going to wildly speculate on perhaps what comes next, but you know, it's it's a tough market, guys. It's a tough market because we're just not doing anything and uh you know, this is junk, right? Like this is junk. So when I think of periods of time like this, right, where it just feels like it's never going to end, it makes me think of, basically this, okay? Like in the most recent years, something like this, right? I could put it in log mode just so you can see it a little bit better. But this was actually like the seasonality of this actually pretty much aligns with what we're doing right now as well. So we were here basically from March. We were here from March. Let me just mark this out. We were here from March all the way basically until October was when we like really broke out. You could say we started breaking out and like, we bottomed in September and then, curled up. But I would say like the real breakout was here in, very kind of tail end of October, right? So this was actually about 226 days. And seasonally, right? Like let's mark out Q4, right? So here's October. Actually, let's just do September. Let's mark out September 1st, right? So here's September. And then here is the end of Q4, right? So this was Q4 right here. This whole move was Q4. All right. This was Q4. I'll make this a different color. Right. So we were in this giant prolonged range where it just felt like it would never end. Right. And, a lot of people were more actively trading during this time, like scalping, trying to kind of get through it that way. But people that were holding, it was like, it took some mental fortitude, right? It took a little bit of toughness. And, we have experienced this before. It's like whether you want to blame it on seasonality or whether you want to blame it on just like, you know, this kind of thing happens, right? And they try to shake you out, whatever you want to do. That's fine. But I think that there really is no denying that like we're most likely at this point in just some like prolonged range, right? So here's we entered this one here in technically February from when we marked up to this point. Let's just say even this is the range going down here, middle of February. We have basically been doing this, right? So let's just mark out the exact same amount of time, right? Let's just say 227 days until we really break out. That would bring us out sometime end of September, potentially, or maybe even beginning of October. Um, so maybe we're in for something like this, right? Maybe we're in for something like this. It's of course never the same, but it's somewhat similar, right? So here we marked out September. So the last month, the Q3 all the way through Q4. So I kind of cheated a little bit. I just labeled it as Q4, but point being is September through end of year. All right. So we have September coming up right here, and end of the year, to switch time frames, and end of the year is going to take us out to, if I could get my chart to work, hang on one second, guys, right over in here, right? So it's possible that we're about to do the same thing, and maybe the bottom is in, maybe maybe we move back down, who knows exactly. But what I can tell you that seasonally Q4 has been pretty good for crypto, right? There's a lot of places you can access that data. But Q4 has historically been pretty good for crypto. And here, let me even see. I might have it. I might have a screenshot of it. Give me one moment. No, I don't have one saved. That's all right. I can pull it up later for you guys, but I don't remember the exact numbers, but Q4 has historically been the best season for crypto. And you could blame it on, like, it's a summer thing, right? Like all the big money goes to the Hamptons and they don't want to trade. I kind of subscribe to something similar to that, like that belief. But either way, we're in a long range right here. Unfortunately, it's something that happens from time to time in crypto, right? And then here we can approach things a little differently as well, right? First of all, we got a big super chat here, man. Oh, of course, it's Crypto Maxi, man. Thank you so much. You're always giving us huge super chats. Thank you so much for the support, man. It really helps when the markets are doing this, because this makes our jobs a lot tougher, right? We show up every single day. We have a daily show, but there's not so much to talk about, when the market is doing this, and it's a shame, right? We can feel the sentiment. We can feel there's a lot of negativity and pessimism out there, and it's not fun, right? Like this is a very difficult time to be doing what we're doing, right? Narrating everything that's going on in these markets. So not just to you, Crypto Maxi, but appreciate you guys showing up every single day, making the most of this scam market, right? Of this absolute scam, never ending range. It's tough, man. It's it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting. I think a lot of us share like a higher time frame bias, right? So let's just save these drawings and we can come back to them. A lot of us share, a high time frame bias, right? Like starting on the monthly time frame. Actually, let me switch over to a different chart here. So, looking at this on the monthly time frame, right? Like this is really, without question, like this is a pretty bullish looking chart in my opinion, right? You had right here, you've got a monthly FEG, from a big gap up, and we came back and we have more or less completely filled it in, right? The entire thing has been filled in. Like that looks pretty solid in my opinion. Um, and I think there's a lot of different ways to look at this, right? But the way that I look at this is like, we have been aggressively kind of like reaccumulating. This is not like a textbook distributive pattern right here. Like this feels like like an aggressive bleed down, and you're about to see this break at some point to the upside. And at this point, I would say, just hold your breath till Q4 kind of thing. But, this is kind of weird little TA, right? But like eventually you're going to pop above this to the upside. But locally, right, like there's a lot more clarity on the higher time frames. Like this looks pretty solid. Okay? Like this doesn't look too bad, but we've just been here forever, right? You can draw this out very easily, but like when you're sitting here looking at the price action every single day, like you really feel the lower time frame moves. Um you really start to feel the lower time frame moves. So, we can look at it a few different ways, right? And I actually want to pull up gold here because I think that Bitcoin is probably doing something like gold did on a much higher time frame, which is basically like this move right here. Let's go a little higher. Here we go. I think you could look forward to something like this. Okay. I really believe you can look forward to something like this for Bitcoin. And it's something that gold did not too long ago. Just like a giant cup and handle pattern and then an eventual breakout, right? Much different time frames, but you understand like the spirit of the move. And then additionally, right, like you can look at this and gold even had like a similar sort of trap right down in here that Bitcoin just had. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean it's like a guarantee that the bottom is in or anything like that, but you have to recognize like these moves, they typically happen time and time and time again. Um, and I think this is like a giant cup and handle. And I do think you are going to see this, expand to the upside. Let's even just see if we can fit this on the Bitcoin chart. Let's have some fun, right? Like something like this, right? Like this isn't perfect, but you should get the point. And interesting how this even looks the same right here, like this. We highlighted this phase earlier. We were talking about like that chop range of death that we were in last year. Interesting that we had that for gold here as well. So even a little bit of additional confluence with this fractal. Um, Certainly not fun, right? But we've seen this before. We have seen this before. So um, it's hard to say how long it's going to take, but like I really don't have much doubt that this does resolve to the upside, but it just might take a little bit, right? It just might take a little bit, and it's just not an easy thing to do at this point to prospect like when that will end. Like it's an extremely difficult thing to do because we've been here for so long, and so many people, myself included, are just like exhausted of this price action. Um, Let's take a look at this another way here. Let's throw up some halvings and elections, right? You guys have probably seen I've done some analysis on this before, so shouldn't be anything you haven't seen before, but I think refreshers can be very helpful. So the black lines, the vertical black lines are Bitcoin halvings, okay? And then the blue lines and the presidential election and the halving in the first cycle were like basically at the same time, which is why there's a little bit of overlap here. But you can see that like historically, we do this similar pattern, right? Where let's just take a look at the second cycle, right? So bear market bottom, you grind up into the halving, get a post-halving correction, right? Like this doesn't look big, but this was big. Let me go down to the lower time frames and you can see it. Big post-halving correction, and then it takes like 4 or 5 months to really start moving up, and then after the US presidential election typically you get about a year of froth and excess, right? Let's keep moving. Same thing last cycle, right? We did have COVID, which certainly made the chart look a little bit goofy, but we were still trending up, right? Like as you can see from bear market low through the election, like that was up and to the right, even if it had some really big like reflexive moves. So again, we're in between the Bitcoin halving and the presidential election, which is if you look at last cycle, that was pretty junky price action, right? Like there's no other way around it. This was garbage, you know. This was garbage. I remember I was holding Bitcoin at the time and ETH, um, and I remember this drop right here, and then I was like, oh man, like that Bitcoin halving just happened. Why do we just have a drop like that? Like we're supposed to go up after the halving, you know? But anyways, uh in between the Bitcoin halving and the presidential election, right? Like pretty junky. Now, basically what we're doing right now is we've gone up and to the right from the bear market low all the way through the current price action, right? We're in a post-halving correction. We've had a pretty nasty post-halving correction. And the presidential election's coming up. It's actually November 5th. So it's coming up soon. And we know that typically after the election, which is in a couple months, after the election is typically when we get about a year of froth and excess, right? I guess patterns are meant to be broken eventually, right? But this goes back pretty far. So I'm looking at this like ultra high time frame and I'm like, what am I really like is there really a reason to be concerned about a pattern like this, right? Like we've seen fractals like this before. We've seen price action like this before. Like things don't on the higher time frame look too bad. But at the same time, when you see price action like here, I'll remove these drawings. When you see price action like this, it's just so like exhausting, right? And like you go down to the lower time frames and it's like, look at this. Look at this. It's awful. It's nuke and then it's BART, inverse BART, BART, inverse BART, BART, inverse BART, BART, inverse BART, BART, fake markup to a giant BART, markup, BART, markup, BART. It's like, I mean, this is awful. Like this is some of the worst price action that I can ever remember having to watch and narrate on a daily basis. I mean, this is like, you can't make this up. It's awful, right? It's like a cruel, sick joke that's being played on you. And not to be the 25-year-old technical analyzer meme, but it's like it makes you feel like lose this level and it's lights out, like locally, right? We're looking at the 30-minute time frame. You look at this right now and you're like, oh man, if you lose that level, like you're going to drop down to here, and that's scary. And every little pullback feels like way more intense than it should because of how long you've been here and how tired of it you are, right? It's exhausting, right? I feel it too. But I think this is a time when you can kind of really lean into like market structure and just try to stay focused with it and say like, okay, you know what? We are technically in a downtrend here, right? Like, let's look at this. So here's our downtrend, and we are in one. So let's stop it right here for a second, and
Control price action, Max. Control price action.
Yeah. Like, here's your downtrend, right? So the main objective right now is trying to break this downtrend, right? So if this is a pop, the only thing that matters is that we don't go on. It could be here. We could go down a little bit more. You just simply want to see an uptrend begin, right? And you don't know you're in one until you get confirmation. And I would say we haven't had confirmation. But what you really just need to focus on is like we had a high, we had a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We want to put in a higher low, wherever that may come from. That's the only thing that really needs to be focused on right now is, okay, this price action sucks. Everybody's tired of it. We know it's going to come to an end eventually. We also know that like there is a backdrop for crypto to do well. Buying the dip, buying the volatility, buying the junk in strong names between a Bitcoin halving and an election here in the US historically has aged well. Let's focus on what really needs to happen, right? Let's focus on what really needs to happen, which is we need to stop downtrending, right? So like, what would that look like? In my opinion, like it's going to be something like this. Like you're going to want to see, and I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's here, maybe it's a little bit lower. Like I don't know. It's a Friday, anything can happen. But I like there's some levels on the chart that I think look pretty good, right? like this is a pretty obvious level that I think should hold here. And let me put it in, I'll just put it in blue so you can see it here. Like this is pretty obvious in my opinion. This is actually like, this is a good level, right? This is a really, really good level. All right, we got Will on camera now too. So like we'll see where a bottom comes. Like again, I'll say maybe it's in, maybe we go to the blue line, maybe we go a little bit below it, but like what you just need to work on market structure. And like that's it. That's our only objective. Because like when you finally get that higher time frame shift of market structure is when this range of death ends. Okay. Let me just see some comments right here.
When you get a second, Max, I have some stuff on the charts.
Okay. Sounds good. I just want to read some comments first. All right. Yeah. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for being here through the through the chop range of death, man. It's it's never ending. But one thing I wanted to point out real quick, someone said we should be watching NQ. And I want to just point out something about NQ, which is NASDAQ, right? And I assume you're saying we need to watch NASDAQ because, like, if NASDAQ tops, like, you know, crypto will certainly be topped or something like that. Let's look at the NASDAQ right here. I'll get rid of RSI. So what we have right here is the NASDAQ with crypto. And something I'd like to point out here is that I don't like all the gaps in that one. Let me do NQ. Oh, wait. NAS 100. I feel like this one might not have as many gaps, or it might even have more. We'll see. It's the same. All right, whatever. What I want to point out real quick here, and I'm going to move this up so we can see it, is actually like seasonally, if we are going to compare crypto and the NASDAQ, right? Like let's take a look at what happened during this chop range of death last year, right? What you actually saw was crypto moving up like this. And at that time, the NASDAQ was actually moving down, like selling off. And granted, it did V-recover, right? I'm just saying, like, you know, if we are going to look at the NASDAQ in that context, like, could the NASDAQ roll over and do something like this? And crypto starts to move up again like it did last Q4? It happened last year, right? Like, pretty obvious that, I mean, it's even like a similar pattern, right? Like, let's look at the NASDAQ here. So look at the NASDAQ put in this top and then a little shoulder and then a third, you know, lower high, lower low, right? Brutal. Could that be happening again right here? Absolutely it could, right? Like, no question. Could go like this, could go like that. And then maybe it, you know, moves up from there. And at that time, just like last year, you know, Bitcoin actually moves up. So just wanted to provide that as well. I don't know why you were saying look at NASDAQ. I would assume that's probably why, because NASDAQ looks a little, I would just say like a little questionable here, right? It looks a little bit questionable. But just wanted to point out that actually last year, that is basically what we saw. So, Will, you want to share something? You got your chart up in the background, I see.
Yeah, I
All
can
right.
run through some stuff.
Cool.
I mean, this is what I talked to you guys about on Wednesday. And I talked about it last week too. When we were kind of heading up towards this direction, I was like, you need to flip this red zone. We broke down. And I think like ideally, like people just need to be patient here. I think you have a breakdown coming, but I think it's into this 53K range. A lot of people are probably like, oh, everything gets wrecked. I don't think things get wrecked that much. Like things are pretty much demoed at this point. Holding support's doing pretty well. I think like people need to take this and look at it like as glass half full, not glass half empty. We are going into what should be considered the final leg of this bull run, 2025. A lot of people are in disbelief. Again, a lot of them are new participants. They're not people who have been here for multiple cycles. And I think if you've been here for multiple cycles, you know how this works. You know how this game is played. You know how the 4-year cycles work. I know a lot of people are like, oh, 4-year cycle different. No. For the people that have been in this since the beginning, they're entrenched. They're not getting weeded out by anybody. Like it doesn't matter how many hedgies come in. Like they have their positions. They have large positions, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to let any of those go. They may be playing some of this, lower time frame fuckery on the daily time frame, but ultimately, I've been direction of down as far as the conversation goes since we broke this range. And when we broke the 60K range, I'm like, okay, this shit's cooked. We're going to probably stay relatively in this range for a while. We're not going to V-shape recovery. And that's what we've kind of seen play out. But ultimately, this is what I'm looking for directionality. I just think it may be more painful than a lot of people are willing to kind of hang out and watch play out, right? It could be something like this, for instance, where we just kind of do this, for a while and then take a long time to kind of recover out of this range. Whereas a lot of people right now, a lot of people's anticipations are that this thing ends up coming down to like 30K or down to like low 40s. And like, there's no imbalances that support that I can see across the board. There's absolutely no imbalances that I can see that are supporting Bitcoin. Sorry, give me a second. Breaking in that direction. I mean, you had this breakdown that basically encompassed the entire move. Like, look at the weekly here. I mean, here, I'll just clear the whole chart, make it simple for people. It's not a hard thing to understand. You retap liquidity. It's been tapped. What are your expectations here? I think we'll probably get a retest of the low here. That's basically it. And then from there, a lot of people are going to look for this thing to continue to get cooked. But in reality, you'll probably bottom around here. But that's my thoughts. I don't think you're gonna come back and fill the wick. That's the thing that a lot of people aren't getting. And the reason I don't think you're going to come back and fill the wick is, same reason we didn't come back and fill this wick. These were the takeoff ranges, right? Same reason we didn't come back and fill this wick. These were the takeoff ranges. And I think ideally we're probably looking at something similar here where a lot of people are wanting this fill or this lower low to where they can get a much better entry. Do you know why people want a better entry, Max? Do you want to know why? Because most people entered up here.
You really think most people entered up there?
I think majority of people entered up there.
Because this is painful, right? But like our entries are obviously much lower. Like we've been pretty much in this market for, fully deployed, aggressively deployed for, at least over a year now at this point. And I feel like that was when I know new people have come into the space, but you really think most people entered up there? Like most participants that are still around entered up there?
I think most people that are crying on the timeline, most people that come in and talk shit and say we're going much lower, entered much higher than what a lot of us did. Because like I started entering here, continued entering here, and then told people, hey, this is the low here. Nobody believed it. And then boom, straight to 72K swing, right?
Yeah. And
then from there, we've just been doing this, and all you've seen from people on the timeline, oh, the price, help me, somebody, I'm down 90%. You're down 90% because you just entered the game. That's why you're down 90%. You haven't been playing this game the whole time. A lot of people are in that position. They want so badly for some kind of like better price for their entries, right? They want so badly for that re-entry. All this spells is a new bear market. It doesn't spell a retrace. It's not a retrace. It's a new bear market. And I don't think we're going into a new bear market going into 2025. And I don't think there's going to be a capitulation event like COVID that's going to send us all the way down to 30K. Absolutely do not. I think that's just complete insanity. Here's the first thing. As a person who does TA, you have to respect the levels. You have to respect the levels. You have clear levels of support ranges that you have to respect before you can even entertain lower pricing, right? Before you can even come in and say, hey, we're going deeper. Like there's so many ranges that have to be respected here for a downside that you have to be like, all right, first we have to get to here. And then if we break there, we can come to here. And then if we break there, we can come to here. And then if we break there, we can come to here. You can't just tell people on the timeline, hey guys, 40K by October. Like that's literally just guessing. You're not, nobody here is a magician. Nobody here is a fortune teller. Nobody on a timeline on Twitter is. Why the hell are people even discussing these prices? Like you have clear levels that have to be, basically violated before you can sweep lower levels. Because basically it is what it is. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. Following the rules means what? It means follow this down level by level. And, as we continue to capitulate, understand, okay, are we going into a bear market or are we staying in a bull market? And ideally, if we break this range, I think we're going into a bear market. And guess what? Lights out. Guess what? I'll cut my positions. Not worried about it. I'm still up. The rest of you probably down significantly on your pricing. Down significantly on your portfolio. Again, it's not a hard concept. I think people need to just really kind of ideally look at the current range, understand the range, and just be patient. Be patient with this. Like it's a patient game. Look, we can ignore the wick. We can literally sit here and it's a patient game. It's a patience game. That's all it is. It's one of those games that literally will sit there and chop you out cycle by cycle and play you every single time with boredom. I did the same thing over here. Remember this range? Remember this range, Max?
Yeah, I do. I remember that. I was just talking about that one too. Like that was a tough range, man. It just took so long, right? It felt like you were never gonna exit. That's what I remember about it. It was like every day we would just wake up and it would just be like the tightest little range you've ever seen.
All people kept talking about was the sweep. That's all they kept talking about. They kept talking about the sweep that was going to occur right here.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the sweep? Is the sweep in the room with us? That's all I can tell people, man. Like, you got to understand, like, structurally, you have to respect these levels. I understand, like, there's potential for us to go deeper. Like, I've been bearish. I've been talking about it on the show. I've been bearish, but I've also been bidding when I see opportunity to do so. Like I bid yesterday. Price is down. Okay. I'll bid again if it goes to 53. Like, I'm fully expecting this market to completely reverse back to the upside, regardless of, depth. I think your lowest position that you should be hoping for, praying for, if you're sideline, the lowest you should be praying for is like 48, right? That's the lowest you should be praying for. Because I think ideally, if you break this structure and you start heading back into this range, you have a really good chance to really just start downtrending. A really good chance. and not turn back around. So I think people need to start here with 55, right? 55.8. That's where I think price is already heading. And then if you break 55.8, look for 48. And then if you go deeper than that, find another job, right? Find another job. Maybe find life insurance, if you're feeling a little funny, because you might just be cooked. But ultimately, this would be my cut. This would be my cut. I'd be cutting. And a lot of you be like, well, you'd be cutting the bottom. That's the bottom. No. I think if you break below that structurally, you're cooked. I think you'll come down probably. And here's the thing. I won't cut the breakdown. I'll cut the retest. While everybody's cheering that it's coming back up. Because that's typically it's the same thing over here. When they came back up, again, structurally, boom, boom. and then retest, breakout, come down, come back up, retest again before the actual breakdown, came back up, fake retest, breakdown, retest, breakdown, breakdown, breakdown. But here's the thing I would tell people, and I'm not trying to sound cocky, guys. Like I've been doing this for a long time. It gets tiring trying to teach people, and they think I'm being cocky about what I'm saying. It's experience, right? I'm not speaking from like confidence. I'm speaking from experience, just understanding what's going on here. I would say like this right here, right? Falling wedge or falling wedge, bull flag type play. This was the worst range ever. This was the worst range ever because you never knew when this thing was going to stop going down. It was just absolutely painful. You know why I bid this range? You want to know why I bid this range? I just did my typical TA thing, right? What's my typical TA thing? RSI bottomed. RSI doing the opposite of what the chart's done. That means the lower we go, the heavier the bid. The heavier the bid, the lower we go. A reversal's incoming. Do I know where? No. So with that being said, like you have to kind of be able to read these things as they are, understand them, and just, you know, I would say it's almost like it's not necessarily blind bidding, but it's just bidding what you've seen before, right? Bidding experience. That's it. You're bidding experience. So when you go to a job, you learn experience, and then when you get 10 years experience, why do you think they pay you a lot of money? They pay you a lot of money because you had the experience. You've seen all the negatives and the positives. You know all the bad and the good at your job. That's why they pay you more than what a new person would get. It's the same thing with TA. Once you've seen scenarios play out multiple times, you kind of have expectations for how they should react in a certain range. Does it always work out? No, it's a probabilities game. That's what it is, a probabilities game. So I can't 100% say this is what's going to happen, but I can confidently say, which means that I'm pretty confident, which means I think it's a high percentage chance that these are the things that are going to happen.
That's actually an interesting thing that you just mentioned about like it being a probabilities game. I think a lot of people they fall into this mindset. It's like a warped mindset that some people out there know with certainty what the market's going to do and others don't know what it's going to do, right? There are simply two groups of people. There are those with experience, like you talked about, Will. There are those with experience that have basically they've learned to basically attach probabilities to situations in these markets better than other groups. Even somebody that can look at the market and go, I think there's a 51% chance that this is going to play out, is doing much better than most, right?
Yeah.
Over various time frames. I think by next 10 minutes, the chart will do this. I think, the next week, the market will do this. I think the next month, the market will do this. And if you can basically skew it in your favor based on your experience and the research that you've done to attach a probability of it being slightly greater than not that it works out in your favor, you're going to do just fine over a long period of time, right? Amongst a myriad of other skills necessary to invest in markets, right? But that's the thing is like a lot of people that are beginning, they look at guys that have been around in these markets. Let's use somebody like Will as a prime example. Will's been investing for well over a decade, and he's older than most of the people that are probably watching the show. He's kind of the BB dad, okay? I joke with him about that, but he brings a lot of wisdom to the table because he's been through so much shit, you know? He's traded so much garbage over the years, stocks, crypto, whatever, that he's able to look at things and attach realistic probabilities to it. But a guy like Will doesn't have a crystal ball. Like, he doesn't know what's going to happen, but he knows roughly what the percentage chance of something happening is within reason, right? Which makes him, over a high time frame, good at trading or good at investing, right? And that's the thing is, like, you have to be able to accurately assess the market. So Will has a drawing here, right? Like, he's got a couple different levels on his chart, and he's like, look, you don't really have too much to worry about right here. Here's your level, right? So like right now, Will, I'm assuming you probably attach like 55 to 75% chance that we kind of hold that yellow line and move up over the next year. And there's a less than 50% chance that we would lose that yellow line and move down and be cooked, right? So it's like, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, right? I don't know what the actual percentage is. I'm just kind of speaking in like general terms to prove the point. But it's like all investing is just learning, hey, this is probably going to happen. This is more likely going to happen than is not going to happen. And then just placing your bets and then just hoping that it works out that way, you know? So it's a tough game, right? But that's the toughest part about it is just placing bets and just being realistic about it, right? Because we all kind of marry a bias, and especially during periods of lull and chop like this, where this price action is miserable, right? It becomes more difficult to read and attach realistic probabilities even on the higher time frame to the market because there's so much static and noise, right? Like you see a local sell-off and you're just like, oh, like now it's making me feel a certain type of way, and I don't know about the higher time frame because the 1 hour candle sold off. Like it the more noise, the more chop, like the more painful, right? Like that's the truth, is like it makes it harder to read and attach probabilities, you know? But anyways, I just want to put that out there. Like nobody knows for sure, but there are those that understand how to attach probabilities to situations better than others. And that just comes with time and experience, right?
Yeah, and this is why like it's difficult for somebody who's 18. They can understand the game and how it's played, but they haven't got the experience to know that hey, sometimes this thing fakes out. You know, the probability here is much less lower than the probability of like a bull flag or whatever, right? And so they attach that it's a bullish pattern, but they don't attach that it has a less likely scenario of playing out versus another scenario. And that's where the experience comes in. The experience comes in with, you know, what's the pattern, what's the likeliness of the pattern, and then have we done this before, right? That's the looking at the past. That's why I don't even bother really much with fractaling, because I just look at past history, I look at the current pattern, I look at the levels that we're sitting at. Are we close to support? Are we close to resistance? And I'm like, all right, what do we do? What do we want to do at this range? Do we feel comfortable? Do we want to bid or do we want to sell? And I like right now I'm bidding because I think we're near a bid range. So, and if we go deeper, we go deeper. It is what it is. Like, I don't make the rules. My probabilistic trades cost me, right? They'll either make me money or they'll lose me money. That's what the audience has to understand here. Like when I'm putting things out there, it's because I'm actively doing them. So if price goes down from my buy, you could LOL, I lost money, but ultimately I may see something you don't, right? That's why I'm bidding. It's not necessarily that, you know, I didn't see that there was potential for drawdown. It just, I think that we're at the range where people should be looking at this as an opportunity and not a oh shit scenario.
Yeah. And guys, what I have right here, I just want to show you is this is from January 1st. Like this is perfectly on January 1st right here. This is a yearly volume profile and a yearly VWAP. Okay. You can see right here, like I have it, I just shaded it in green so it would be a little easier to see, like right up in here. This region, this is your value area high and value area low. This is your value region. This is where basically within 2 standard deviations of the mean, all of your transacting has occurred for this year, right? Like that's what this is showing you. And we are still trading within value. And the best time, arguably, to buy something is, or to short, would be shorting your value area high or within this region and longing within your value area low. Now, granted, you can get big deviations and stuff like that, but, you know, betting on, you know, breaks of value on the higher time frame, like you make a lot of money when it happens, right? Because you break out above, you know, your value, you get a rapid expansion typically, right? Similarly, like if you lose this and like you actually lose it, you're going to get a big expansion to the downside, right? But 80% of the time, price is going to just kind of ping pong between value, right? And then 20% of the time you're going to see a big expansion or, you know, a break of value. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, you know, this is more or less your bid region, right? I like this region. This is an interesting area for me to transact in. This is an area to be cautious in, right? This is an area to be cautious in. So I just wanted to point this out that, like, yeah, you know, we go down to the 5-minute chart. It looks terrible, right? It looks terrible, but I don't know. I mean, you are within value, you know, your yearly value area, and you are approaching the value area low. So I don't think it looks too bad on the higher time frames. I mean, you know, some things that we need to look out for though are, like, we do have cuts coming up very, very soon, right? So let's pull up the federal effective federal funds rate. And I'll save these drawings and we can come back to them. So this is yearly VWAP plus volume profile. We'll come back to this. Oops. Where did that go? But you know,
bearish on
Bitcoin.
SPY though.
What's that?
I'm bearish on SPY.
Like locally or high time frame?
Locally.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I could see a pullback. I could see one.
No, but I think it's got a pretty decent one. 50. I think it's 54.50. Like if you look at the run the daily on that.
On SPY?
And then, yeah. And then look at that gap.
Oh, you want these gaps cleaned up down here?
Yep.
Yeah, I could see
just
that.
The daily one. The daily one is all I'm looking for.
But then, Will, I gotta ask you, what about, you know, something like this? Because like we did have kind of like a similar buyback, like big V recovery. You know what I mean? But those never got filled.
Do the daily. So I'm only looking for 54.50.
So like this first one, the top one.
Yep, the top one. That's it.
That's not so bad. That would be healthy. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm looking for that to really get people kind of shaken up a little bit.
But see, I would say like you here. Let me go to the stocks here.
I'm only looking right now for local gaps. I'm not looking for far away gaps at the moment.
I don't really think it makes sense to get bearish. I would say until like this level is lost right here. Like that's the thing though. Like I could see this. Here's the thing. Like if we want to look at this in a different way, right? Like we could without question be doing something like this. And yeah, this could be the start of that, right? Mm-hmm. Like it could be, but I'm just like you technically are right on top of support, you know? Like
yeah.
You're right on top of support. Like I don't know if I would. I mean, I don't hate the RR here because like the invalidation is literally a new all-time high, right? It's like if you wanted to get short, which I'm not playing equities right now, but like if you wanted to get short, that's not a bad setup. Like invalidation is a new all-time high, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like your invalidation is so close, you won't get right too badly. You can cut that shit as soon as it breaks all-time high. I think that looking at it, like that's what I would look for. I wouldn't even look for all. I just look for a break above 56.50. If you got a break above 56.50, I think it's bullish, right? It's going to start moving to the upside. But I think if you stay relatively where you are now and continue to form these lower lows on the daily structure, you're going to break down into that 54. I'm a hefty believer on daily plus time frame gaps, especially locally. Like it's a pretty local daily plus time frame gap.
This is a scary chart to want to fade, though. I mean, I see it getting shallower, right? Like I see it getting shallower, right? Like there was your, you know, first pullback, second pullback.
Yep.
Like we might be doing something like this, where then, maybe you go up like this and then, you correct and then it could just take like so long,
Yeah.
but you can kind of see you could see us losing a little bit of steam, right? It's like, like this and smaller, and then it rolls over, right? And that same phenomenon happened, the loss of momentum, that happened during the bear market right here, right? So let me actually just flip it so it looks the same. So you can see during the bear market, this is the bear market flipped, right? You kind of like shallow out, like you just kind of lose steam. And there's just kind of here, I'll actually just flip back. So it's like big drop, big bounce, big drop, bounce, drop. And then you just kind of like, don't have enough bounce to keep going. Like, I know that's not actually like a technical term. I'm just trying to show you that like it's momentum, right?
It's momentum. Yeah.
So I'm like, this is kind of it looks like we're losing a little bit of steam. It's like, it's just not going to be quick, right? It's not going to be quick.
The best time frame for Bitcoin, though, the entire time that we've been watching it, I'll just say it to the audience and just keep this in the back of your head, has been the weekly. It has 100% been the weekly. The weekly called the bottom. The weekly is called every move. The weekly called the double bottom on 25K. The weekly for everything on Bitcoin. And I'll tell you, on the weekly on Bitcoin right now, stochastics floored. Your leverage positions look like they're starting to veer up. So you're starting to get people taking on a little bit of risk. And you're just sitting right at the 50 right now on the RSI. So like Bitcoin is looking like it's getting very close to locally bottoming, right? Like I think people got to really take that into consideration. Does it become a bounce into some kind of sell-off? Possibly, right? That's what we got last time. But I think there's a big bounce coming for Bitcoin. Here's the thing that I would tell people. From if you go max to the bottom there and look at 17K Bitcoin and that God candle that went straight up to 21, and everybody said that's fake, it's going to reverse.
You're talking about like
on the weekly.
You're talking about this one.
Yes. Pretty much a full engulfing candle of the entire move. And once Bitcoin gets to that low volume, pretty much no trading move, which is basically where we're at now. We're just kind of like barely up and downing, right? You can barely find buyers and sellers right now. You get these little pukes here and there, but you're barely getting buyers and sellers. Once we get to that point, I think not everybody, but I think a lot of people will be sidelined. I think a lot of people are just looking for such ridiculous numbers when it comes to downside that they're going to look for that scenario to play out for lower, like 10K Bitcoin they were promised, and Bitcoin's going to bounce somewhere locally here. I think anywhere between 53 and 48. I think that's your bottom, man. Like if you're going to sweep anything, that's what you're going to sweep, and then from there you're just kind of up.
Just so much accumulation right here.
Yeah, it's 30K is the new like floor. Like you're not coming back below that. But I think in time, once Bitcoin breaks out of this range, look at how much accumulation we've done where we are, Max. Like when Bitcoin breaks out of this range, that will be the new floor. 100%.
VSP. Hang on. Visible range, volume profile.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Pure saying, like you can have plenty of sellers, but do you have plenty of buyers, right? You need somebody on the buy side to be able to sell, right? You always need buyers to be a seller. And so what they have to do in crypto, I'll just explain kind of the process and why we get these erratic moves, is they have to create buyers. How do they do that? Well, they move the market to the upside and then sell it off. Then they move the market to the upside and then they sell it off. then they move the market to the upside and sell out. That's how they're creating buyers, right? They're creating buy positions. But when you get structured price action, which is down and to the right, not just down, it's different than having down price action. Like if you look at it, go up to November of 2021, Max, real quick. It's the top. So November of 2021, look at how that market just dumped, right? There's no structure to it. It just dumped straight into like 30K.
Yeah, I mean, you basically had like the world's greatest bear trap, or sorry, bull trap. Like that was brutal.
But look at the price action. This I'm trying to teach the audience. Like, look at the price action here. It's just straight down, right? That's how you know when you're going into a bear market. Look to the left over there where we topped over at the beginning of 2021, Max. It's the same thing. We literally drop, pop, and then just go straight down. Like there's no playing around when this shit hits a top. Like the market just absolutely gets obliterated when the bear market comes. If we were in a bear market, I would wholeheartedly expect this type of price action, guys. Like, and I don't expect this.
And see, this is the thing too, is like this move, right? Okay, let's talk about this. So when you're at a high time frame top, right, you do this same kind of move every single time. Let's highlight a few of them. Okay, so
build long, go short,
up, down, up, down. We're in an uptrend. And then you get a break of structure. So I'm going to stop it right here. And here, let me actually make my candles a different color just so you can see the green a little bit better. Okay. I'll make this even bigger. And I'll make it lime green. You should be able to see that uptrend. And then I'm going to just draw it with this. You get a break of structure to the downside, yes, right? Like very, very clear after a trap, right? There's an actual trap that gets set right here. Okay.
Max, that was my cut. I told everybody when that broke that low, it's done. I was like, structure is broken. I'm like, you are at this is like, go look at a TA book, audience. Just go look at a TA book. They will tell you this structure exactly. This is the structure exactly.
And then you bounce into that, and then you bounce into this, right? I know it's easy to do in hindsight, but like let's take a look at it, right? Like let's even go.
The second you break your lows and you stop forming higher lows, you're cooked.
Like how about this one? Same exact thing, Will, right?
But
like,
you build long into it though, Max. You build long into it. We didn't build long into our current price action.
No, we didn't.
We've been building short. That's it.
Look at this. Same exact thing. Same exact thing. Right. We'll just do like I want to just show you that like we haven't seen our high time frame top unless this is a brand new style of topping structure that I've literally just never seen before. Right. Look at this. Same thing. 69K. Right. Now I'm pretty zoomed in, so you can't. But whatever, you'll get the point. Like very clear
uptrend. Built long too, though.
Right? And then look at this.
No, right? The low, though. The low, Max. Look at where they broke the low. Highlight it again.
Oh, yeah. Hang on.
Broke the low there. And then highlight at the top where they broke the low. Right at your green arrow. Right there. Right where they broke the low. So
I'm just saying, like, you see the same kind of topping structure time and time again, right? And then, you know, how about even this, right? Even this one. And then look at this.
Yeah.
And then we had down here, we had your break of structure. And up here, you had your top.
And if you look at where we are now, it's only been lower lows and lower highs. There's been no build long, guys. They have no, like, both of these structures build long and then drop, right? There's no build long on our current structure. It's only been build short. They're building shorts to go long. They're either building long to go short or they're building shorts to go long. This is building shorts to go long. It's angled, right? It's structured price action. That's what I've been like. I've been trying to pound this into people's head. Structured price action falls gradually, right? Absolute nukes are like what happened in 2021 on both sides of that market. It just went straight down.
And Will,
like,
let me even show you. Let me even show you this, man. Like, let me even show you like zoomed in, man. Like look at you even like you get like a fake, like even if it's tiny, right? You get the market maker trap up top, right? And then you're gonna get, I probably call this like your break of structure, right?
Yeah,
Something
100%.
like,
and then retest and then roll.
yeah, exactly, right? So it wasn't a huge trap, but you still got one, right?
Yeah.
So then how about even like this one right here, right? Like super locally, right? Like you get this trap right here. And then I would say
you got the same
this
thing
is
there.
probably your break of structure right here.
It's going to always be off your highest low.
And then, you had kind of two of them. It was messy, right? But you still had it, right? So I'm like, you just find this everywhere, right? Like you just find it everywhere. And then, how about right here, right? Let's look at this one before this huge sell-off. I remember trading this one, right? Here you go.
Trapped everybody.
Trap right
multiple times. And then lower hide the traps after that. And then rolled it.
Like let's just keep it moving. Let's just keep it moving, right? And then I'd say you had your real break of structure. I mean, you could argue you had one like right here, but I'm going to just be conservative and say this is when it was like officially over, right? You could kind of mark it wherever you wanted. But like, look at this. Like, see, it just, so like when you look at the current price action, right, it's actually more similar to like an inversion of this, right? You see what I mean? Like look at this price action right here. This is what we're seeing right now. There was no bull trap here. Like, you see what you guys see the difference here? Look at this set of price action right here. There was no, if this had done this, then it could have been over, right? You got your trap. You see what I'm talking about there, Will? Like, what we're in is more like this set of price action where we're like, we're just falling and bleeding, but it's actually a reaccumulation, and then you're eventually going to break up like this. You see what I mean? That's the difference. So,
well, here's the thing too. When you're done cooking, if you can kick it over, Max.
Yeah, and like I just want to, like, guys, if this was going to be like the top, we would have done literally what we've done every other, like, unless this is a brand new style of top that I've just never seen before. What you would have seen up here is you would have seen one of these sets of highs. They would have finished the job. They would have run it up here.
They would have
new
trapped
all-time
liquidity.
high. Yep, new all-time high. And then you would have seen a break of structure, down in here. And this price action would have looked more like, it would have looked more like this, okay? It would have looked more like this, right? And then you would have seen, this, right? This is what like a legitimate top would have looked like, okay? Is like this, okay? We would have had a trap up top, just like we've had every other freaking top. And by the way, every single bottom. Like, look at the FTX bottom right there. Look at the USDC crash bottom, right? Look at these. You get that trap either way. Like, a falling pattern like we're in right now is not like it, like it's straight up not a bearish pattern. Like, it is in the sense that you're in a downtrend, right? But what we're actually more like, what we're doing, okay, we're more like in this right here, okay, but an inverted version of this, right? Like, this is what we're in right here. We're in this, where you're getting, and I flipped this just so it looks like where we're at right now. This is where we're in right now, like this, okay? Falling pattern, higher highs, higher lows, above support, right? Or like this one, right here. We're more in a pattern like this. High, 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 you know, low, 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 low. Oh, we're in an uptrend. And then it just gives out, right? And then it just gives out. And you know it's a reversal when you get a trap, right? And how about looking at it like this, just to provide some perspective here. This is inverted Bitcoin, but the FTX one. So look at this. FTX was your trap. FTX was your trap. And then you had a break of market structure.
And a retest.
Yep.
They retested right into the range.
Yep. You had a break of structure, so a new low has been set, right? And then you get that, and then it's over, right? And then you go straight down. It was really straight up, right? Because I flipped it to show you guys, right? And then look, like it's the same thing. It's just, you just see it over and over and over and over again, right? You just see it over and over and over again.
This is what I tell people though, whenever they're like, "Oh, sell, it's breaking down." It's like, wait, if you're gonna sell, wait for the retest. Why are you selling the capitulation candle? Like, price will always retest if it's truly going to roll again. If it's truly going to roll again, it's going to retest.
Yeah.
If it's not going to roll again, it'll break through. But you're always going to get a retest of the range. Never sell the breakdown, ever. Like, it's literally just the dumbest thing anybody. I like, and I'm telling you this because I've done it, and I've literally screwed my positioning multiple times in the past doing it. I've learned a long time ago, when that shit breaks down, let it come back up. When it retests, if it shows weakness, sell that shit. Sell it. Let it break out. Let it come back and retest the high as support, and then you're good to go, right? If you want to sell, you sell high. You don't sell low. Do not sell capitulation ever. And today we're seeing capitulation. A lot of people are having a hard time with it. They're having a hard time dealing with it. And it's not like your time to sell was higher. It was higher. And I did point out the levels for people. Like, hey, this is where you need to ideally watch. I didn't sell because I don't give a shit. Like, I already know what's coming. Like, and when I say I know, obviously it's not 100% chance. I think it's a high probability chance we're going to see this cycle play out as all cycles did, because this always happened. And I think it's a low probability chance to think anything different. It's like saying, okay, will the presidency happen every 4 years? Yeah, until it doesn't, right? Until they change it. Same thing with markets. When it comes to Bitcoin, cycles will happen every 4 years until it doesn't, until they change it. Who's going to change it? The market maker, the people playing the big money. If they change it, then I got to adjust. It is what it is. I get wrecked that year because I got to adjust. But until that occurs, I'm not going to assume different. I'm just not. Because what does assuming do to you and me, Max?
Causes us to make the wrong decisions, Will.
Makes an ass out of me and you. Assuming.
Yeah.
Or you and me. My bad. An ass out of you and me. That's what it does. Again, it's a probabilities game, guys. Like, you got to understand that. I think you have so much better odds though playing the market than you do holding dollar. Can I see the chart real quick, Max? Yeah. I just want to kind of cover some of this. So for those wondering, like, bearish patterns, they tend to be like patterns that go up, right? Up and to the right, up and to the right, up sideways, right? Sideways after a big break, like this literally trap between two zones, reversal. Whenever you're seeing bullish patterns, it's down and to the right, chop down after a big breakdown, chop sideways, and then a reversal, right? And again, down and to the right, reversal pattern. This is what I think we're currently in. Down, and this is a down pattern, up pattern. But this right here is an ascending. So this is a flat top into rising price, right? And then this is a symmetrical, which has potential. It's like a 50-50 play, right? You don't really want to play this. And then descending is kind of like up price action. This is, again, I keep trying to explain this to people. Like when they're wanting to trap you, it's more obvious than you think, right? It's more obvious than you think when they're trying to trap you. It's much more obvious. This is the parabolic trap, right? That's the parabolic trap. This is the parabolic trap. We haven't gotten the parabolic trap yet, in my perspective. Because if we got the parabolic trap, this thing would have already reversed hard. Look, 2 months and 2 weeks and we're already down here, right? We're already down here. Over here, 6 months, literally just playing to the right. That's it, like 6 months. Look right here, 1, 2, 3 weeks, we're here. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, we're here. In 2 months, we would have already been all the way. We would have been all the way down here if this was a bear top. 2 months, not 6 months. 2 months, we would have been all the way down here. Structurally, you have to look at price for what it is. This is price building short to go long, right? Building long to go short. Building short to go long. Building short to go long.
Go short, Will. This time's different.
This time's different.
You wouldn't get it, Will. You wouldn't understand.
Like this is like, you guys gotta understand. Like even this, look, minus the COVID. COVID never happened. This would have been your structure, right? This is the one time the probability didn't play. Again, it's a probabilities game. It's not 100% guaranteed. This is the one time that this didn't play. And guess what? It dipped down, ran back up, and filled back in immediately.
And it kind of did play, Will, because it wasn't a perfect channel, right? But like it kind of did play still.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for your once every 100 years when when a global pandemic arises and they have to shut down the entire economy, sometimes patterns don't work as well. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
When you're actually disrupting the money flow, you can't expect your probabilities to play out too well for you.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what happened. But again, this was a bullish pattern, and look what it broke into, guys. Like this is a bullish pattern, and look what it broke into. That's a big market. Again, down and to the right, down and to the right, down and to the right, down and to the right. I can say it time and time. Even if this is all the gas we got left, that's still a lot of gas. That's still a lot of gas, whether people want to look at it that way or not. And this is like, I'm locally bearish, but I'm high time frame bullish. High time frame bullish. Because I'm locally bearish, I'm bidding. I'll just say that.
Will, what's the region that you're bidding in right here? Can you give us some numbers, like between what price and what price, or is that like your area of interest?
So I'm bidding here, anywhere's in here, and I'm just buying day by day.
So basically from here down to like 55, if I can see that correctly.
I mean, shit, we can go down to 48. I'll still bid. I'll still bid if it goes down.
As long as we don't make a new low, you're good.
As long as we don't, yeah, I'm good. I'm perfectly good as long as we don't make a new low. I don't think we'll go this deep. I'm just saying, like,
that would
even
be
if we went this
incredibly
deep,
painful, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like to go back down there again after what we just had, that was a pretty crazy.
This was painful, and I was bidding this. Sometimes the mid region, I'm not even gonna bullshit. So that's even the mid region. I was bidding this. Like I was just like, okay, I could reverse from here, and then boom, get big drop, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna bid this. And then like RSI started playing in my favor, which really helped my mental, because this stuff is a mental game. Once the RSI started playing in my favor, I was like, okay, this is the play right here. This is where I get in. And if you look here at all this drawdown, we're basically playing into the 50, right? We're playing into the 50. And the 50, you should be very bullish. I think people should be very bullish around the 50. And if we can continue to hold this on the weekly, I think price action here is fine. Like, if you are buying things into this range, yes, it's going to hurt. But I think ultimately, if you are understanding the pattern and what the directionality is for the pattern, you're going to do fine. Again, I can point this, even the most bearish point in the entire Bitcoin history that people love that quote, go back and quote, what about COVID? Well, look, I just showed you the most bearish shit you could ever think of that came out of COVID. Right? Or sorry, bullish shit you could ever think of. Like this drawdown ended up doing this, right? Again, drawdown ended up doing this. Drawdown, wherever that may land, will end up being significantly higher. You just have to be bullish here. Like you can't be. This is not this market. It's not. This happened in weeks. This happened in 2 weeks. We've been here for 6 months. It's not the same. It's not the same. This isn't a bear market. It's not. When a bear market comes, you will know. You will know. Look, boom, pop, pop, boom, boom, boom. Literally 2 months, you're all the way down here, right? You're all the way down at 5,800 from roughly 19.4. You've already lost 75% of your market. Bear markets come fast, much faster than what most people understand. And so when they come, you got to be scared. Yeah, okay. But we're not in a bear market. Here, structurally, we were building long, right? On the daily time frame. This is what I saw when I was looking at 2021. And I was like, oh, this shit's fucking cooked. Because they started doing this. Look. They started doing this. This is where I knew this was cooked. When I saw this. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm like, they're going to freaking wreck these people. Because I started seeing the build long pattern here, right? And it doesn't matter if you took it that way, if you took it this way, however you want to take it. This is a build long pattern, right? You don't build long to go long. You build long to go short. And if we look over here at the chart patterns that I posted earlier, what does this pattern right here specifically mean, right? It means you're going down, right? It means you're going down. Boom, right there. Bearish rising wedge. This is why I told people you're about to get cooked over here. And then people are like, no, there's so much more in the market, super cycle. And then boom, what did it do? It dropped. It then shouldered, lower high after it broke the low. Basically what Max pointed out here. Same thing I saw, by the way. Once you broke that low, you were cooked. Once you got the retest, you exit. And then boom, they run it down. Now, what do we see here? Reversal pattern incoming on top of support, right? Reversal pattern incoming. Oh, they're going to do a run it back. Boom, retest. Boom, running long again. Running long again. What are they going to do with a run long? They're going to cook you, right? And then they're going to trade sideways, and then they're going to cook you. Oh, look, another build long pattern. Guess what's going to happen? Drop. Oh, another sideways, no liquidity pattern. Drop. Another build long pattern. Drop. Another sideways. Sweep. Drop. Death. Right? Death. What do I mean by death? No trading. No volatility. Everybody's done. They're all done. Everybody walked away. Everybody who's going to be in Bitcoin's in Bitcoin, everybody else walked away. That was your bottom. I mean, granted, we can call this hindsight, but like I literally played this out all the way from 2021. I played this out exactly as I'm describing. Like it was a pretty obvious play, to be honest with you. And I again, when you get basically bear markets, they come very fast and they hit really hard. You lose a lot of liquidity at once. We are not doing that. We are structurally moving down and to the right. That's a 47% drop in 2 weeks. This right here, again, coming back down, is a 50% drop in 4 weeks. This right here is a 20% drop in 6 months. I can't make it any simpler for people. Same thing here. Look. $33%, literally months. 33%. When a top is in, you will know. You will know much faster than you think you will. You probably won't even be able to catch it. And I'm speaking to the audience specifically because these markets are tricky, man. They're tricky when they get near tops. But ideally, I think that we're not at a top. I don't. If we get some kind of dip, oh, I guess another black swan, right? I guess another black swan. We dip below the channel. But ultimately, I'm expecting the channel to be respected, price to continue to play within these two ranges. until it doesn't, right? Until we reach back. And I think ideally, if we can swing back at whatever point we swing back up to the high end range of this channel, we'll probably break out. We'll probably break out, wherever that may be. It just right now we're kind of still playing on the low to mid range. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, that was a cook, Will. I was just like, I'm gonna let this man just serve up some stir fry right now. That is it. I mean, we're just it's just choppy, guys. It's just choppy. That's all. But I mean, Will painted a pretty clear picture. On what most likely, based on historical data and probabilities, is going to come next, right?
I will say this too. That I have one more thing.
Yep.
Before we shut down, I think that's where we're heading, right?
We're about at that time, but you keep cooking.
So this one to me, like, yeah, here we go. Like, I'm not saying to buy ADA. I know, me, right? Me. But these are always the toughest ranges to bid, right? These are historic, like for altcoins, these are the hardest ranges. And look, what would you say? Like, let's take away the fact that this is ADA. We'll just pretend we don't know what this is. If you were looking at this pattern, and then this breakout, and then this pattern, what would you think, Max?
I would think that you're basically coming back into a bear market reaccumulation range high retest.
Okay, is that
so
a high time
frame demand? High time frame demand retest.
So for those who don't know, that's bid. That means bid. Demand is where people are buying, right? Unless you expect this thing to truly break down and go to zero, this would be where you bid. And I think there's a lot of charts that look like this structurally, a lot. And I showed right here, this is the 2017 top for ADA. You lost 98% of your overall liquidity, 98%. And then ADA went on to do 11,500% by the top of the market. 11,500%. And you guys wonder why I'm bidding SUI. You wonder why I'm bidding SUI, right? Because I think people are dumb. I think people are going to think that this thing's a great investment. They're going to bid the shit out of it. It's going to run. But I'm not saying SUI is the next ADA. I'm making a point on why I'm bidding something new that got wrecked, right? I'm bidding something new that got wrecked. Because I think ultimately these markets, when they do come back, this is your run. We haven't had that run yet. Again, people saying that meme coins and altcoins and all this shit's already ran. No, it hasn't. It absolutely has not. And if ADA does what it did again, higher highs, percentage drop, percentage breakout, you got a cool 2,000% right there. Go ahead and do the math, right? That's cool 20x. Just saying. Makes another higher high. That's a 20x. And I think, like, if people look at these markets like that and they're like, okay, retest, breakout, what's my upside? I think there's a lot of things that look really good. A lot of things that look really good. Even ETH here. Look at this one for ETH, Max. Man, my voice is raspy. So I actually readjusted this. I did have this more like this, but then I looked at it. I'm like, man, this is almost perfect. I'm like, this is like a perfect retest right here. I'm like, if we can stay in this range, we'll probably do something like this, and then this, and then that. That's what I think will end up playing out. If not, to invalidate this channel, all they got to do is break above this yellow line. That's it. They break above 2,900, it's go time. But again, are you closer to the bottom or are you closer to the top? You're closer to the bottom. So if you're bidding ETH, this is where you bid. That's why I put a big red box here.
Like, if you're just spot bidding Ethereum, right? even if hypothetically you got a double bottom retest of that low that Will has marked out by that red line, it's not so bad to like start slowly getting into the market here. It's not, because you don't. Here's the thing: you don't know exactly how something is going to locally bottom, right? Here's what we've identified, right? Actually, Will, do you mind if I steal the chart back just for a second?
Go for it. Go for it.
So I want to just show you guys what I'm talking about. So you know how we were talking about, last cycle, there were these, it was this type of maneuver here, right? So here was your top, and then there was your trap, right? This is like ultra high time frame on ETH. Remember, we just did this for Bitcoin, right? And then you have a break of structure. I would say like this was your break of structure, something like this. Let's go down to the daily so you can actually see it, right? This big wick right here was a break of structure, and it was confluent with Bitcoin actually breaking structure. So you had your break of structure, and then you had, a decent little bounce from this low up here, and then we sent it down, right? So the point of me showing you this is like, you don't know exactly how something is going to bottom. So for example, in my opinion, we right now, if I can get my trading view to work, we are within we are within this trap. Okay. In my opinion, we are most likely in this trap right here. And where I think we're going is whatever you do here, I don't know. Right. But in my opinion, what you're going to do is you're going to have a break of structure like this. All right. There's your supply. So you're going to have a break of structure like this, and then you're going to get a bounce like this, and you get that. This is flipped now, just to show you, because we've been doing bullish ones, and I don't want your eyes to play tricks on you, okay? This is what we've been looking at, right? So then you're going to get that break of structure, and then you're going to get that lower high, and then you're going to get this straight down, okay? So whatever happens in this box doesn't really matter. This is a local reaccumulation, right? We could nitpick it and go, yeah, I want, that low. Okay, I want a retest of the wick, whatever. That's fine. Point being is, in my opinion, you're in this box, right? Like, you are in that box, and you are going to get basically like a break of structure, complacency, shoulder bounce, and then it's over, right? And it's the same thing that we saw up here, right? And it's the same thing that we've seen. I'll show you again here on ETH, and then we'll go back to where we're currently at. And then it's the same thing as right here, right? It's the same thing as right here. And then you get your break of structure, and then you go straight down, right? So do you see what's going to happen here? Most likely is this kind of move, right? I have it flipped just so I can show you guys, right? But that's the move that we're looking for, right? And it could be, arguably the same as something like this, right? So you're in a downtrend like this, and you get below, this low. And here, let me flip it now just to show you guys, right? Here you go. You get below that low, and then you get your break of trend again. And you could try to draw something like this too, if you wanted to. I'll just keep it like this. You'll get the point. Doesn't really matter. But here you go, right? Then you get your deviation, your break of trend, and then straight down that way. So it's like, in my opinion, like, this is where you're at, right? Like, this is where you're at. So like, look at these. This is where you're at, so like, however it bottoms, I don't know. It's never the same, right? It's never quite the same. Like in this instance here, at the all-time high for ETH, we didn't go back up and within the local deviation or within the high time frame deviation. We didn't do another one. We didn't like make a new high and then go down, right? It got front ran clearly. So like, let's go over here now. Do we need to go all the way down here? No. No one knows what's going to happen in this local box, right? It's very hard to say. It's very hard to say. But point being is like, I think it's a local box. You know what? I think it's your local deviation, and I would expect something like this to play out. I would, very much so.
The thing is,
and you could even see that. Sorry, Will. You could even see something like this right here, where like this is a daily time frame order block right here. This could literally be your low. Like you don't know, but this is a daily time frame order block. In my opinion, within a deviation that when you finally reclaim, and yeah, like you don't really have to buy down here if you don't want to. Like you could very easily wait for like that red box to flip. You could wait for like 3,200 and then the pullback to 2,900. You can totally do that, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like this is what I'm expecting, something like this.
Here's my, I guess my problem with that, or at least not with what you were talking about, but with people buying higher versus buying lower. Just why do people not just bid the low range and then just short it to hedge? Like I never understood buying higher for spot. To me, it's just like, we talk about it. It is a strategy that people try to use, but if you are that conflicted with price and you are on the 50-50 teeter, but you want exposure, get exposure and just short that shit. And then if your short gets wrecked, your short is a 1-to-10 ratio of your spot, you're good. It's not a big deal. You took the exposure for the downside to protect the exposure for upside. Like cross exposure is not bad if you're trying to hedge while volatility is currently occurring. But you have to TP that shit. You can't just expect for it to keep it puking just because it pukes and you catch the short play, right? And then what do you do with that positioning? Well, you take the win that you just got with the short and you buy more spot lower, right? And you still get better exposure. Like, is it to me? I never understood the concept that people are like, I'm just going to buy when it flips this range. It's like, just hedge your spot. Hedge your spot. Like if you know, not no, like not 100% no, but like if you're confident there's a bull market around the corner, hedge your spot. That's what I would say be the better play here. I know not everybody can do that probably, but as a trader, that's the way I would approach this.
Yeah. And here's the thing too to consider though, Will, is like most people are just kind of like they're more like in the buy and hold camp, which is actually, to be fair, what I'm doing right now, because like I do believe that we are within the next few months going to be within like the last part of the bull market, and it can last a while, right? Like it can last a while. So I've decided to mostly just buy and hold. Like I do a little bit of trading here and there, but like I'm mostly just kind of monitoring the higher time frames and stuff. So like shorting and hedging can be like a very scary thing or like a difficult concept for those that are beginners. And I actually think for a lot of people, you can kind of fall into a trap of like, it actually is not that constructive to be that active. Like if you can understand contextually where you most likely are within like the higher time frame cycle, like you probably should just, you should probably just stick with that. And just play the higher time frame cycle and like buy and hold good stuff. But I think the idea of like, even you don't have to short, right? But like you could hold stable coins instead of actually shorting, right? So like instead of being 100% into spot ETH here, you could be like 50% and then have 50% cash. So you could take like, you know, like let's say this plays out, you know, and by the way, I think it will. Like, I don't know exactly how it bottoms. I don't really care, you know, but something like this, you could be like, you know, you could be 50% deployed in the green box, and then you could wait for, you know, up here and put the other 50% in if you
On
get
confirmation.
this. Yeah. So it's like you don't have to be all in or all out. You know, I have the luxury of having, you know, entries from lower, and like I'm being pretty aggressive, and like I'm personally like more or less all in, you know. I've got the ability to like hedge, and I can sell some stuff if I need to, but like I'm basically in, you know, like I'm in and I'm riding it, and it's not for everybody, right? But you know, you could very easy, like you could wait for this, like that's no problem. Like there's nothing wrong with doing this at all, you know. But I think the important thing is just like getting into the market if you're bullish here, because like I'll tell you this, like if you're waiting for lower, like if we go back down to 2000, I know you're not going to bid it. That's the thing. Like if you're waiting for that, you're not going to bid it because you're going to be terrified when we get down there. You're going to be
you're
terrified.
scared now, you're terrified later.
Yeah, like I promise you, like when you see that candle before it turns into a big wick, you're not going to be like on the buttons bidding it. It's not going to happen. I wouldn't do it either. It's terrifying. Like I don't care how long you've been in this market. That is terrifying to try to catch that knife, even if you're convicted that it works. You're probably better off just like slowly entering in a region, right? That, in my opinion, is going to be a hard strategy to beat when you're in a bull market, is like buying these discounts where, I mean, what? ETH is down. What's it down right now from its high of the year to current prices? 40%, to the low, almost 50. Okay. ETH is down 40%, and we just had a Bitcoin halving in April. You know, is this time different? I don't particularly think it is. You know, I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but I don't really think it's different.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at alts, and I'm telling you, like they look so floored, Max. They look so floored.
They're just waiting for ETH, Will. That's what they're doing. Like,
they look so floored.
They look floored, man. Like there's so
I
many
have to bid just looking at them. I'm just like, dude, these things look wrecked. I have to bid some of these.
Yeah.
They look too good.
I totally agree. And like, okay, let's look at like here. Let me see. Oh, I had this drawn the other day. See, that's interesting. Even though I had this drawn, it's like that's a scary spot to want to bid something like MOG, you know, like that is. That's scary. Like you want to bid that? I mean, yes, right? But it's like this is what Will's talking about, is like this is you know, this is like premier ETH beta, and it has been all cycle. But like that looks weak, you know, like, and even if that ends up being the bottom, like this is the pattern that has to play. You have to flip it on your eyes just to play tricks on yourself, right? But like this is here. This is the pattern that's going to play right here, is like you have to flip it to play tricks on your eyes. I promise you. But like this is going to be your pattern. We just talked about this, right? Like we just talked about how these things top. Okay. So it might be from here. I don't know, you know, either it's going to be, well, like we're going to wait and see, right? It's either here or it's already doing it, right? I don't know. So let's just say it's here, hypothetically. It could be a bigger one, right? But remember, we just did a bunch of these examples, right? So here you are, and you're going to do this, and then you're going to come down, and you're going to break structure like this, and then you're going to curl back up, and then you're going to nuke, right? But I flipped the chart to play tricks on your eyes, right? But here is your break of structure, right? And then this is when you get like the crazy move, right? Or, you know, the other scenario here, and, you know, I'm sure some people won't want to hear this, is you would get the move like this, right? So you actually get your deviation up there, like your bear trap, right? And funny enough, it's actually going to probably be above this one too. So that's not a bad level, right? And let's just say it went, actually, let me remove this. It would be something like this, right? So you come up, chop, 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 whatever, whole bunch of garbage, right? And then you get that break of structure, and then you get that retest, and then you go down, right? Right? So it would look something like this, right? And we just talked about all of these examples, right? It would literally just look something like this, right? I don't know exactly what it will look like, but like you get the point, right? So like this is what you need to be looking for, is like a lot of altcoins looking bottom. Like whether it does this or not, I don't know. I'm just showing you, like, based on examples. That's, here. Let's look at how let's look at what it did last time, right? Here's MOG last time, prime example, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, ready? I have the chart flipped again, just to remove any biases. Okay, here you go. And you have demand, and then you have like your shift of structure, right? And now this one kind of came up pretty high, right? Like that came up. I would have expected this to kind of be your shoulder, and then it goes down like that, right? But you kind of got like a double one, but it didn't get back above, the low that was set, clearly, right? But then look at what happens. You get your break of trend, retest. This was weird. You got a double, but then, you nuked. Well, you really pumped, right? So I would be looking for, and by the way, this could be, like, you don't have to go up here. I'm just saying, like you have to be bullish on these charts unless the cycle's over, right? Hopefully this example is all right for you guys. But yeah, like, it doesn't have to do this. I'm just showing like what it could do, right? Like Bitcoin, like I'm just not bearish here, man. Like I'm just not bearish. Like we've just went over all the reasons. Like I'm just not bearish, man. Like this is gonna break to the upside. You're gonna get this U-shaped pattern, man, that like this type of thing will. You see what I mean? Like this,
Mm-hmm.
where it just like we dropped. Right now, we're somewhere in this region right now.
It bowls out. It bowls out.
Like the whole it just here, I'll just throw a fractal over it. Like I can smell this coming from a mile away, man. I can smell the U-shaped recovery. Like that's how these things resolve. It's gonna be oh wow. Okay. It's gonna be like this, okay?
And we already had that second drop too.
Like this, okay?
The one we're at right now.
It's never perfect, but like you need to understand, like this is what's coming. Okay, it's a giant U-shape recovery. Okay.
No, scoot it more to the left. More. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, you're gonna get this, and then you
at.
might get your drop down to 2,900, or you might just rip. Like, but that's coming. Like your U-shape is coming here. Okay, like that is real. That is happening. It's coming. All right.
The thing is, even if we drop a little lower, it's not a big deal to me. Like I'm looking at this as value. I'm not looking at it as, oh shit, we're going to 30K or 20K or whatever these people are putting on X for engagement farming. I'm looking at it level by level as a trader. I'm never gonna approach this to engagement farm people. I'm gonna straight up tell people what I see, and like I really think that we're close to the bottom, especially on Bitcoin. I think like anywhere's from here to 53 to 48 is, and some people are like, that's a big range, that's a lot. If you're buying Bitcoin, yeah, it's a lot. If you're buying altcoins, they're damn near bottom. Go look at the charts. almost all of them are damn near. Like they could probably go a little lower, but a lot of them are damn near bottomed.
I mean, like look at this, guys. Like we're just bottomed, man. Like it's just floored. Like all your ETH beta is literally just waiting. Like Will, I know you are a MACD RSI stochastic enjoyer, correct?
Yeah.
Let's look at some stuff like this.
You got a bull trend going on right there.
Triple bull div, Will, on the daily.
Yeah.
Like it's just waiting for ETH to pull that U-shaped recovery. So much ETH beta is looking like this. And here, let's pull up MACD as well.
This isn't like just so the audience, like this isn't like, I know some people are like, oh, just coping because price going down, bro. I promise you, like I just showed you on Bitcoin how these bull divs play out. Like they are good measures of price, really good measures of price, daily, weekly, monthly, especially, and that's a pretty solid bull div as long as it holds.
Yeah.
You got it on stochastic too, which is pretty interesting.
Someone said total 3. Check it out. Yeah, okay. I had this drawn from the other day. I tweeted this out actually. But yeah, I'm looking for, I have this green dot. I'm basically just looking for, like what I talked about with Bitcoin. Like I'm just looking for us to carve out a high time frame, higher low, right? And I'm hoping that that's this area, because then I want that market structure break, and now we're in an uptrend, right? That's all I want. So it's like, yeah, locally, like annoying. We're just sitting here. It's bleeding locally. It sucks. Like, nothing to be excited about here. Okay. But what it looks like to me is that we're running out of steam. Okay. And here, I will go back. So this is.
Back. So while you're pulling that up, I have to ask the question.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's too late, don't you? We lost Will. Here. US 500. We lost Will. I'm sure he'll be back. So someone was asking about total 3. Let me make sure I have this saved. Okay, I do. So this to me feels the exact same as the type of structure that we've seen with something. This is just a prime example. Like price action should be studied. Doesn't matter what it is. Like it's human psychology on a chart, right? Like look at this. This is what I'm looking for, right? This is exactly what I was talking about. So here we go. Here's your high, lower high, lower high, again, lower low, kind of shallow, running out of steam, right? But we got that break of structure. Now we're in an uptrend, and then we're off to the races. That's what I'm talking about, wanting to see and expecting to see here with total 3, is that we're kind of running out of steam right here, right? And I'm looking for us to carve out that first in multiple months, that first high time frame, higher low, right? And then we get a break of structure just like we did right here, right? And now we're off to the races. Then we're in an uptrend, right? That's what I'm looking for. It's really simple, right? Like it feels like we're running out of steam to the downside. Just like when you look at SPX in this bear market, it's like kind of a rounding, like you just don't have the juice left in the tank, right? And you know, if you wanted to look at it, you could literally just do this. Here. Like something like this. right? Like that shift of trend after being in a downtrend. Like that's, I just want to see that low hold. I want to see that higher low hold, right? That's it. And it's not easy, right? Like I was trading equities in this region. Like I promise you, it didn't exactly feel like it was a guarantee that equities were going to bounce, right? You had so much FUD going on right around here. You had the Fed like still monkeying around raising rates. You had high inflation. You had a bunch of macro doomer spaces going on. It didn't feel there were publishings that like economists basically had there being a 99% probability of a recession occurring in 2024, right when we were like right in here.
I thought they had that at the end of 2022 going into 2023. You remember that shit? Like
And
everybody was saying that.
and you remember the chart? Remember this chart? Remember Meta? Remember what Facebook was doing during that time? Facebook literally capitulated, guys. Like look at this chart. During this exact time, look at what Facebook did, man. Meta went down 77%. This was a multi-$100 billion market cap tech company. So it's like looking at this chart, right? Did you really feel that confident? Look at when it happened. Look at when it happened. It happened right here. Look at my crosshairs. Did you really feel like bidding while mega cap tech companies were like nuking through the floor? Fed was aggressively hiking interest rates. Every single day there was an article about like 7 to 9% CPI and like a guaranteed recession. Like that was not an easy bid. And then you got the little shift of market structure that could, right? The little higher time frame, higher high. And that changed everything. Right? That was your signal. That was all you needed to know. So all that I know is that it looks like we're running out of steam. I'm watching for a break of trend, a shift of trend of structure to the upside. And it may take a little bit, but then you're off to the races. One shift of trend can change everything. One little shift of trend can change everything. It tells you everything you need to know. I just want that low to hold, and then we're good. But this is what I'm prospecting.
It's a Friday. It's an interesting day, but I think people will be glad when all this is over with that they bid, if they bid, ultimately. Like I literally just bought the other day and ate the drawdown. I don't care. Like I know where we're at and I know what I'm expecting. So
Dude, I am just taking drawdown like a man. Like that's the season that we're in. Like you will not shake me out of my altcoin bags while ETH is in here. It's not gonna happen. You either send this shit down to like 1,500 and you give me the death blow because I will not get shaken out right in here. It's simply impossible for me. Like that is not happening. That's not happening.
whenever I'm, you know, it's funny, Max. Whenever I'm the most fearful on the market, like outside of when I think there's an actual bear around the corner, right? And I usually run those in 4-year cycles, but wink, wink, 2022. But yeah, what I do when I'm most fearful is I go and I look at charts and I look at what looks structurally the most bullish, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy some of this, I'm gonna buy some of that, and I just start bidding what I think looks structurally bullish and adding to my portfolio. I don't deleverage down days. I try to look and see what, especially big ones. I try to look and see where I can get value out of the market.
It's because you are a seasoned investor who has done this before, Will. This is what's coming right here. All right, we got to call it, guys. We've been going forever. Thanks for being here. Fun little Friday stream with me and the doctor. I had fun today. Will, great hanging out with you, man. We've only done a couple of these one-on-one market checks. We did one maybe like 7 or 8 months ago. I remember it was fun too. Now that we're down to a cast of 3, I think we might need to just do like a Max and Will Friday stream or something like that. Like I think that might be the move moving forward. But guys, thanks so much for being here. Before you guys go, please like and subscribe. I'm not going to shill you our BB products today because the market's a pile of crap. So I'll leave you guys alone. But if you enjoyed the stream and you want more access to me and Will and the rest of the BB team, just check out the links in the description below. It's good value. I actually would say it's really great value. We work really hard at it. So I won't ask you to do it because the market's down, but if you want to check it out, we got some good stuff. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for being here. Please at least like the stream before you go. Really helps the channel grow, and we will see you guys Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Take care.